my lovelies. We are here today with Vanessa Loves, a place where we have conversations about what really matters. A place where where we chat about the stuff that really matters so we can feel deeply connected to self, others and the planet. And today, Vanessa loves Craig Dubecki. Hello, lovely. How are you?
Hello, Vanessa. I'm great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great. And from the other side of the pond in Canada.
Yes, this is so exciting. Yes.
My evening and your daytime. And we only met for 10 minutes 3 years ago once.
We did. You came over this side.
I did, for Bob Proctor conference. We chatted for about 10 minutes and we stayed in touch all this time. You're a very, very dear friend of mine. I love you dearly. And it's our vision and our mission for the world that has really kept us in such close contact. And we chat weekly.
Absolutely. It's just real proof that, you know, you put yourself out into the universe, you let yourself meet people, you engage. We were sitting side by side at the same table. Your dad was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, 10-minute conversation at the break, I think.
Yeah.
And there was just some vibration that we connected with because we're there for what Bob Proctor was doing and all that. So that immediately put us kind of in the same frame of mind. But then we found out when we connected that, whoa, okay, we got similar adventures and journeys going on here.
Absolutely. There is so much more to our meeting, and I truly believe it was divine. And do you know what the interesting thing was? Is Dad said to me when I put the bathroom, he said to me, "You've got to talk to that bloke. He's got a fascinating story." So it's actually my dad that said to me, "I've got to chat to you." So thanks, Dad.
Thanks.
In all these years, I'll say in all these years, in all this 3 years that we've become really close, there's one thing that's really got my attention about you, apart from you just being a beautiful soul, but is your work that you do and with the WYLIWYG principle.
That's right.
Please, now we've got everyone's attention with the word WYLIWYG. There we go. What is WYLIWYG? Where you look is where you go. WYLIWYG. I tell you what, it's absolutely fascinating, and you have based now your whole life's work on WYLIWYG. So please tell us about WYLIWYG and where it came from.
WYLIWYG started back in around kind of 2012. It's actually, interestingly, it's a driving term. Driving instructors, which I used to be, professional driving instructor. It's a term that we use to tell new drivers when they're about to drive into a parked car and they don't know why they're going to hit the car. And then I would ask my driver, "Where are you looking?" "Well, at the car." I said, "Yeah, where you look is where you go. And if you look at that car, you're going to hit it."
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it starts out as, and then I don't do that anymore, but that always resonated with me, and there was always something that I was thinking, I can take this further, and why can I not apply it to human life? Okay, so I look at my life, and I've gone through a lot of things. I've gone through clinical depression. I've gone through changes and everything. And every time I've had to learn how to refocus, and I've had to understand why I got to that point of sadness. And I didn't want to do that. Okay, so how can I stop it? So that's when, in 2012, I kind of, God, WYLIWYG. Yeah, where you look is where you're going. What have I been looking at? Craig, I've been looking at all the negativity that I've gone through. I reached a milestone in 2012. I turned around, looked at my life, and that's what I'm looking at.
Wow.
So where you look is where you go, and you're going to become that depression if you look at that, if you're always looking at it. So there's a difference between a look and a glance, and I get into that with the WYLIWYG principle.
It's actually really powerful, isn't it? Because I totally get, not so much with the car thing, but when I was learning to ride a motorbike, I think I've shared this with you before.
Yes.
That's why I think, because we met 17 and I learned to drive a motorbike in 15. So that's why I just was like, do you know what, WYLIWYG is genius. Because while I was learning to ride a motorbike, the instructor said, right, now we're going to go around the corner rather than just going straight. And when you go around the corner, don't look where you're going, look where you want to go. And
right.
That cognitive, that logically made sense, but cognitively, I was like, but I don't want to take my eyes off the road. I don't want to look, and we're only in like a car park thing. And it took me a while to get the concept. And however much I kind of I was always trying to just look where I was. And I would head off in a straight line until I literally thought, you know, he said, you won't fall off. Please just trust the process. And literally as I turned that way, my handlebars went and I was like, oh my God, I did it. And that's when I wobbled because I took my focus off where I was going, you know. And so I totally get the concept of WYLIWYG is where you look is where you go. And I love what you said about where we're placing our attention. If I'm constantly going to look at the negative things or the things in my past and really stay there, is it any wonder that's what I'm going to get?
Exactly.
And do you think that that is possibly one of the fundamental misunderstandings of the human race?
It really is that's a great way to describe it. It is a fundamental misunderstanding because when we're growing up, when, you know, the teachers or parents, all of the educators are helping us learn, helping us build an aptitude, which is really what all they're doing. We're creating an aptitude with their help to go out into the world and make something of ourselves. But there's too many assumptions. And one of the biggest assumptions that I see and I experienced was focus. Okay, the ability to focus. And that's the root of everything that I do. WYLIWYG principle, everything else. It's about achieving a higher and more efficient level of focusing. When I was a kid, my coaches, my teachers, I still have the report card. Craig's a true natural born leader, but he's got to learn how to focus. Craig will reach his potential when he learns how to focus. Craig, you just got to focus harder. Focus harder. Everybody was telling me that I needed to do this. Nobody, zero, zilch, told me what it was. They made that assumption that I knew how to focus so I could focus harder.
Yeah, what is focus?
What is focus?
Exactly. So that's what your life's work has now been about. So you said, because I know you well, my dear friend, you've shared with me where the WYLIWYG principle came about, but can you just share a little bit more about where there was a point in your life where you truly got it? And I know you saying from a depressed state, but can you just give us a little bit more of that? Because I think there's a lot of people in this world that are in that place, but don't fully appreciate that maybe there's something they can do about it.
Sure, and before I get into the other part of this, I'll expand on that. That 2012 was a critical time for me. I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I was off work for 10 months. And I took 3 months to kind of physically and mentally heal. I was just in a state of being catatonic here in my house, doing nothing, maybe walking around the neighborhood, the crescent once or twice, but I was nothing. And then I kind of had an epiphany one day and I said, Craig, what are you looking at, man? Okay, yeah, okay. So I'm looking back. I'm looking at the negativity. And I asked myself, where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your life? Now, at that time, I was an industrial contractor, which I still am. But with who I was with, I didn't think I was going to be able to survive. So I had to change my life somehow.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the idea, okay, I don't want to do contracting anymore. What do I like to do? What do I want to do? I like to write. yeah, I'm going to start writing something. I'm going to start public speaking. I was a teacher. I was a driving instructor. I stood in front of, 30 students on a Saturday, Sunday when they've been at school all week, and I'm trying to keep them awake as I'm trying to teach them life and how to stay alive on the road with life and death information.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to become a performing musician. So I thought, okay, that's where I want to go. I got lucky because I was off, but at least, yeah, I was off because of illness. At least I did something. I took that break and then I made that decision. In retrospect, I should have just chosen one, but I had all the time in the world. So I chose 3 things. And, I went back into contracting because that did pay the bills, but it was with another company, which made it easier. And then I continued on with everything, and I learned that focus. So learning to truly focus is by having a vision of where you want to go. But as a driver of a vehicle, you have to move your eyes. You have to look around you. You have to be aware of the problems, of the situations around you, behind you. Okay? But only through glances. Quick half-second glances. You can glance at the same thing 10 times in order to process it, but if you're still moving forward, that's where you're looking. Yeah. Where you look is where you go. Because if you all of a sudden look at that person, oh, is that a problem? Then all of a sudden you could be head-on into a vehicle coming the other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's learning the difference between that look and a glance. And that was the defining moment to me, because I still had to go back into contracting. Yeah. I had started something, but I was far from paying any bills with it yet.
Yeah. An idea was born. You were inspired from the place you were in, and by asking questions, you were courageous enough. I do see it as a courageous thing to ask a question and then to listen. And then not just to listen, but to actually do something with it. And you listened, it sounds like, to the resonance of what you've got. And that kind of made sense. And, the WYLIWYG and where you look is where you go. And then you just literally, it sounds like one foot in front of the other. And I love the analogy of a car, because I think it works really well, because I think we're both on the same page when we understand that this is the car. If we're looking at our lives, our physical body is the vehicle, right? And then there is an energy that is driving that car, the petrol engine, whatever. And for us, it's our emotions, right? And if we are going to be placing that energy anywhere, surely it's got to be on where you want to go. What do I want to experience? Putting an address in a sat nav. I take it, are they called sat navs in the?
No, nope. What's it called again?
Sat nav. I don't know. Satellite navigation. That's it.
Is that like a hedgerow? I don't.
Are you kidding? Are you joking with me, or is it not called sat nav?
Yeah, because a hedgerow is in Stairway to Heaven, so everybody wondered what's a hedgerow, like here in North America. But it's
you program an end destination into a piece of kit, and it obviously sends that right, and it points the way, right? So
right.
Whether you're driving a car or whether you are journeying through life in your earth suit, your physical vehicle, you've got to have an idea of where you're going. Otherwise, you're just going to go around in circles. Sure.
Yes, and it keeps you straight too. And let's just take a step back here, because not everybody drives a vehicle, but probably a majority of people have ridden a bicycle.
Yes.
Okay, so the analogy is even better to help people understand how to get started with focusing. And if you remember the first day that you rode a bicycle, most people, they got on the bicycle, maybe their mom or dad behind them, they sit on the bike, they try and put their feet on the pedals, they grab the handlebars, and then the parent or some adult is helping push them along, and you start pedaling, and then they let go of you, and then you start wiggling back and forth, left and right, and you may topple over, you may fall. So you get back up and you do the same thing, and you can't get your balance. Because as human beings, our human nature is to look at a point of contact.
Yeah.
Okay, so the very first time you ride a bike, you're looking at your feet on the pedals. You're looking down and you're looking at that pavement that you don't want to hit. Somebody says, lifts your chin up, tells you, look up ahead to that tree, you know, way up at the end of the street. And all of a sudden they give you a little push and you have your head up instead of down, and lo and behold, you're biking on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
But most of us start off looking down at the problems that we're worried about. We don't have that trust.
Yeah.
We don't have the trust in our feet with the pedals. We don't have our trust to not hit the concrete below us. So we look at it.
That's interesting, because I just wrote down fixed outcome. We're almost attached to each and every thing that we need to apply our concentration to, like pedaling and holding the handlebars, and is mum or dad there, and you know, which foot do I put forward first, rather than just literally trusting the process. And it's like just head on in that direction, and once you've gained that momentum and that movement, we don't trust the process enough, do we?
No, we don't. And that segues kind of into the next part, what you just said right there, okay? So I'm going to bring in the quote from Steve Jobs, okay, founder of Apple. It's one of my favorite quotes. I use it in my book. I use it in my whole presentation. And Steve Jobs said that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So therefore, you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. So I took that, and where the WYLIWYG principle is the cognitive skill that I want to help people learn about how to truly focus and feel that power of controlling their own thoughts in their own direction through all the distractions of life, and being safe at the same time with their direction. You can only do that if you've put your past into its proper place.
Wow. And not many people do that.
No, they don't. You see on Facebook and LinkedIn all these posts about never look behind. You know, forget about the past. No, you have to process the past. Otherwise, as you go ahead in life, there's triggers that are going to be coming up. Yeah. And those triggers will bring up something from the past. And they will tear you down. They will bring you down, and you won't know what to do with it. Mm. You're going to struggle, and you're going to look at that problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If you look at that problem that trigger is brought up, then you become part of that problem. It drags you into a hole. So this is where I define dots versus holes, as opposed to successes versus failures.
Okay.
And so in 2012, when I was in that depression, that milestone, and I turned around and looked at my life, 12 years before that, I was even in a dire situation. And I'm fortunate to be here today. But I looked at my life, and I looked at all the negativity. And those, I didn't know about dots or holes, but I felt literally like I was being dragged into holes. And of course, in hindsight, in 2012, I realized I was staring at them. Of course, my emotions are going to be dragged into that if I stare at them.
Yeah, yeah.
So in 2012, I kind of, the WYLIWYG principle, well, WYLIWYG started evolving. I started the trademarking of that. I have the international trademark for that. So that's how much I believe in the WYLIWYG principle. And I defined dots versus holes. So I looked at anything that was negative in my life, and I forced myself just to glance at it. And I forced myself to find something good in it.
Yes.
Okay, and even the most tragic thing to me that I had gone through, I could, even if it was to say, I'm still standing today. I'm still here. That turns that hole into a dot for me. So now anytime there's a trigger that comes up that reminds me of that, I can say, I made it through. I'm standing.
Yes, yes, yes. So you married the two together, so you were able to fill the hole, if you like, with your dots, because you were able to take, rather than lose yourself down the black hole and, you know, get back into that state which you never want to go back to again. You analyzed, you sat with it, maybe, this is just my interpretation.
Yes, yeah, you're good.
You understood that there was a learning there, that it happened for a reason, and that by glancing at this hole, what is it that I can take from this, and almost by drawing out that gem, that learning, you've kind of plugged up the hole, because it's done, because you learned your lesson, you brought it forward, you're able now to apply that to your life. And here's the difficult, this is the thing that I found once I started doing this work, as I call it, and filling up the holes, is that I thought, oh God, that hole's done. Whew, brilliant. No.
No.
The holes will always be there, as long as we have the awareness of it, and that once we feel like we're getting, the hole is presented, and we feel to us, and we feel that we are, if I don't take the time to be with it, I'm going to fall down that hole again, and I'll lose myself, and whatever, I'll go, that's limitless, you know, shit pit, black hole, brick wall, whatever you want to call it, you know, that rock bottom place. Or now I know that this hole is here, let me look at it, what's coming up for me, what can I draw from it, grit, plug the hole, next. And you just, it's a process, isn't it, that we have to.
It is. It absolutely is a process, and you're bang on, Vanessa, with your description right there. Even to the point, now you said something in that says, you know, it happened for a reason. I never bought into that. I have a hard time, because that's such a global, if you look at it globally, it's hard. But and I've worked with this, like, I always try and keep an open mind. Even, you know, I told you the story, just a little tangent there about my logo. I had a logo. I had this I had designed, right? WYLIWYG, okay, that was my logo. And then I wanted my website redone, and then she created a different logo for me. And I what are you doing? I don't want that. No, I have my logo. And I went home, and the next week, 2 weeks, I just kept looking at it, and it's helped evolve my whole business plan, because I stayed with it. Okay, what can I do? Maybe I can change this. I didn't change a thing. I just took what she created based on her perception of me, which is really flattering, when in reality, and it became just monster to me. Like, yes, good. So things happen in the past. Like, life is an adventure, and this is another assumption that they make when we're young, is that they don't. It's kind of like having a child. You know, you get married, you're gonna have a child. They prepare you for giving birth. You know, they go through all that. You know, they prepare you for breastfeeding and stuff like that. But very little is done to prepare you in the first place to get married. Okay, like, there should be something there first. So coming out of school, there should be something more socially involved about preparing us for life. You are going to, like Steve Jobs says, you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect. The young people, well, anybody needs to understand and learn how to, and we do, go out there and try things.
Yeah, yeah.
We have an idea, we have a goal. That's what being human is. We can do anything that we really have put our heart to, but some of them aren't going to work out.
But you do need to try them on. You need to
try them on.
and see what.
But we need to learn how to deal with them when they don't work out, and that's what a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, and I think also as well, by trying it on, you are able then. I had something that resonated with me is I know what I want because I know what I don't want. So coming back to the whole focus thing, where do I want to place my focus? Well, I don't want to experience that, which is a glancing thing. Don't want to experience that, so therefore I'm going to experience that. Don't want to experience that, so therefore I'm going to experience that. But you've got to try these things, and we only know by actually experiencing it, by what comes up for us in that experience of that, the experiential feeling and the emotions that come up from those experiences, then are able to direct our focus into what it is we do want. And I think your logo is genius. I love it. And it speaks a lot about the fact that you talked earlier about your passions, writing and music and speaking, and you said, oh, maybe in hindsight I should have picked one. They probably are one, aren't they? They're all
they are
versions of the one, because you write, you can write music, and you're standing there singing and playing, and so whether you're speaking to hundreds of people or whether you're performing to hundreds of people, you're still in, your focus is on where's my joy, where is it that and how do I want to experience life to the fullness?
Well, see, and that right there, and that kind of ties in with a lot of you're doing about joy. Where's your joy? We all need to find something that we can go to for joy.
Well, we all have it. We just got to discover what that is.
Exactly. Yes. Something that we can turn to. That I like to think, like my mindset for me was, I didn't want to rely on anybody else. Okay, so public speaking, yes, I joined a group, but it's still, I joined Toastmasters International, but it's still me doing the speaking. It's a solo event. Music at that time was a solo event. Writing is a solo event. Life is gonna throw curveballs and bricks at you left and right. That's just the way it is. What do you have to go to find your own personal joy?
Absolutely, and knowing that whatever that might be for you, I know you call it a solo event or a solo thing, but it's almost as well that you're being fueled by something greater. But
yes,
the experience is yours alone, and so you then know where else you then want to put your focus to be able to keep evolving on the journey and just keep yourself moving so you don't fall off your bike.
Exactly.
The other thing, isn't it, is you might have your focus, but you do still have to then keep yourself moving, otherwise you topple over. And when I say moving, I mean connected, because we still, and we can have we can practice stillness and breathing and meditations and things like that, but that for me is still moving, because we're with each moment and each moment and each moment. Because you say you write, because you've actually written a few books, haven't you? That was
yes. Here, hang on a second.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
If I may do this. So my first book was So You Just Want to Be a Rock Star.
I love that.
So that's when I started in 2012 writing it. Took me 4.5 years, and it's a musically driven psychological adventure.
Brilliant. It's just, you just want to rock your life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a metaphor. Yes, every chapter is, I put the soundtrack to the book. Every chapter is titled after a song. I've used the lyrics to embellish the emotion of the chapter. So there are 70 chapters, 70 songs. You can look at the table of contents and kind of look at the roller coaster that you're going to go through this. There's a nice picture of you and your dad holding this that I have.
Oh, yes, I do, because I came straight home from when we met in Canada and ordered it straight away.
That's right. So there's that. That was the first book. Okay, so this is it's a fictional biography. It's some of it's based on me, some of it's based on what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've listened to. But I think most people will find themselves somewhere in this book. And whether it's just an adventure that you go through, or whether you're looking at just finding a focus and that you're not alone in life. And, you know, that's what I wrote this book for. So there's that one. And then the second book is an anthology. So this is 20 authors, and we did short stories. So this is the second part of my trilogy. I made all 3 books tie into each other. Brilliant. And then this book is a bestseller. This was the 3rd part of my trilogy, again with 20 authors, the 3rd part of my story right now. So that was fun to do. And you know, when you do something like this, when you have a goal, when you have a focus, like Steve Jobs said, you have to trust that they will connect in the future. Yeah. But that's most important, that's connecting for you.
Exactly, because that when I heard that quote, as I understood it for me, and it's very similar to your understanding and interpretation of it, but there was because I know I struggled in the past with, and sometimes still do now, which is why I just love this practice of connecting to self, because when we look ahead and they're stepping stones, you're like, that, what on earth is going to happen? I don't know which way to go, etc., etc. But when you do glance back, and over in the UK, which I think you do have in Canada as well, we used to have things as when I was a kid called dot to dot. So it'd be a book that you'd open up, and it would just have hundreds of dots, all numbered 1 to whatever. And you'd
right.
get a pencil, and you'd go 1, 2, 3, and you'd follow the dots literally. And when you got to the end, you go like that. Oh my God, it's a woman on a horse.
Yes.
I never would have got that from just looking at a load of dots.
Exactly.
That's what made me realize, is I thought, looking forward, these dots, stepping stones that you literally just walk through life on.
And that's what they are. That's a great term, stepping stones.
Absolutely. And I would look back and go, oh, back then when I looked, what do these, where do I go? What do the dots represent? But now I look back and I go, oh, it created that picture. Fine. Okay. So in that case, then let it be a reminder to myself that these dots will also create a picture. When I look back from there and look back, it will create a picture. So what does that mean for me now? That the dot that I'm on is all I have control of, right here, right now.
That's right. Yes.
And then with that, where do I place my focus? If that's the energy I've got, because I haven't got that energy anymore, and that energy is yet to come. So with this energy, and I've got this right now, and that's why I just love the WYLIWYG and focus. Where am I going to put my focus right now? Where am I going to look so that that's where I go?
Exactly, and deal with all the distractions that will inevitably come your way. Now, that's well said, and I'm flattered that you get that, so thank you. One more thing to define focus, break that down a little bit, and this is, we had this conversation previously. There is a difference with focus and concentrating.
Yeah, yeah.
So focus can be more of a global process. It can be a little bit bigger lens. Concentration is focus, but it's intense focus.
And also, is it more about when, as you're talking, I just get blinkers in the fact which sometimes the laser focus is exactly what's needed.
Yes.
Sometimes with the blinkers, you're not aware of things are going wrong. So there is wrong. There's a fine balance, isn't there, from being focused enough, alert and aware without being distracted.
Yes.
And that's a real art, isn't it?
It is a real art, and the people that I would say look at a professional athlete. You know, look at somebody running the 1,600 meter race. Okay, they're not going in a straight line. They're going around in an oval. They have to have that laser focus, first of all, to get to that level, and then also to perform. However, peripheral vision, this is where mental cognition comes in with another part of my business, is you have to have that laser focus, but there's also an elite level of being cognitively aware of certain things around you while you have that laser focus. But in the moment, somebody doing a dive off a 10-meter platform, and they're doing a triple somersault with 1.5 twist, and they spike that water just perfectly with no ripple, they've got laser focus only on one thing.
Yeah.
So there are times that we need that. There are different levels, but for the average person, it's the focus and concentration. Yeah, concentration when you want to learn basic skills. As a guitar player, if I want to learn a new song, I concentrate really intently on this part.
Yeah.
But if my kitchen starts getting on fire, I'm gonna, because I forgot that I have something on the stove, my mind is still gonna pick that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a powerful thing, isn't it, focus? And I'm very grateful for you for you creating WYLIWYG. It definitely got my attention, and I very much, like you, need to learn to focus. It's definitely something I have to apply myself to. And somebody once said to me, you cannot teach what you do not know, and you cannot lead where you do not go. And if you have and are mastering day in, day out the ability to focus more and sharing with others how focus can help their lives and help them live a more fulfilling life, then all credit to you, because I do think that people really struggle with focus. They don't appreciate how it could actually help them.
That's why I'm doing this, because I believe that too.
Yeah, massively so. Yes. I really appreciate your work.
And I look at, I got to walk the talk. If I'm going to talk about it, I've accomplished a lot. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. Yet I've been working full time. I still do contracting. It's much easier, but I still do that. But this is building bigger and bigger, the books and everything. And that's what I want to help people with.
Well, really grateful for the WYLIWYG principle and the dots do connect, and I'll pop the information of where people can find out a little bit more about the work that you're doing, because you've got lots more exciting things in the pipeline.
Yes.
I've got one question for you.
Yes.
Do you see your work in the world with WYLIWYG and Dots Do Connect, really the focus message? How do you see that having an positive, impactful impact on the future? How does the world look to you if we're able to really take on board WYLIWYG?
That's a great question, because I'm writing my 4th book right now, and this book deals a lot with that. It's how we are influenced, the history of thought processing and cognitive behavior. My goal is to open up people's minds, to make them think about, number one, how they've been influenced in life. Okay, these dots that you look back and you connect whatever dots you want that brought you to where you are today, regardless of any. Maybe it was some of the negative, maybe it was some of the holes that was a hole and I learned something. Okay, that's fine. You put that in its place, but you're here. Understand what influenced you. And then what are you looking at now? Where do you want to go? And I want people to have the ability to be free thinkers for themselves, to know if they've been influenced by narcissism or just authoritarianism, whatever it is. Be open to yourself, be honest with yourself, to be the best person that you can be for yourself. And it's we have to be number one. We may have children. Hey, I have children. I have 3 children. They are paramount in my life. But I still have to be number one, because if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't be there for them if they need help. So that's what this focus and understanding the past, and I can speak of that because I'm a volunteer not only for heart and stroke, but for suicide prevention. So I've been a volunteer for years. So I'm very connected with all of that to help people with their past to move on, because I struggled myself.
Yeah. So I suppose in short, from what I heard from what you just said, is the impact it will have will really help people open up to the fact that a consciousness shift within themselves will really help not just themselves, their relationship and their lives with others, and then of course in the wider communities and the wider world. It's all about that consciousness shift, and
Absolutely. Can I use that? That was well said. Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't want any credit. It's all yours. It's just my interpretation of what you said. So WYLIWYG is essential for a consciousness shift that we all so desperately need in the world right now.
It really is.
You are an absolute godsend. You're my earth angel. Thank you, Craig.
As you are.
It's always such a pleasure to spend time with you, and we need to do this more often.
Yes, we will. And www.dotsdoconnect.com is my website.
I'll put all the information where people can find out so much more about WYLIWYG, the premise of WYLIWYG being necessary for Dots Do Connect. But you're an absolute earth angel. Thank you, darling, and I will look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.